Is that Pharmacist Ben?
Is that AJ? Looking handsome as always,
Oh
AJ.
man, I mean, you got me.
Man, how do you do that? Are you taking handsome pills?
you
Did you have
got me.
handsome surgery? Did you have some handsome surgery done?
Must
Oh
be the
my gosh.
nutrients. Must be the nutrients.
I love it. I love it. Are we going to take questions here, by the way? I forgot to ask you.
You know, there may be a couple of folks that tune in, but you know, we do this so spontaneously. It's kind of hard for folks to prepare. So, Pharmacist Ben, I let our folks know in a title that you'd be talking about kidney disease, and then we have a second topic when we're kind of done addressing that one.
Okay. So you want to talk about kidney disease first?
Well, I want to talk about the kidneys.
The kidneys. Okay. So the kidneys filter the blood. That's their main role. They do a few other things. They make some hormones. They make red blood cells. But they make some hormones that stimulate the production of red blood cells, and they're important for the filtering the blood. That's their main role, is to filter the toxins out of the blood. So if the kidneys get messed up, you're in trouble. That's why God gave us two kidneys and a lot of redundancy within the kidneys. The kidneys are basically a blood system. The blood flows through, and the bad stuff comes out and gets excreted as urine, and the good stuff stays in, theoretically. When the kidneys get damaged, the bad stuff doesn't get filtered out. It goes into the blood, and that can lead to all kinds of problems. Kidney disease affects over 37 million people. There's actually two forms of kidney disease. There's acute kidney disease and there's chronic kidney disease. The kind we're talking about here is the kind that's chronic, that takes a long time to develop. Some 37 million people or so have chronic kidney disease. The thing about chronic kidney disease is you don't know that you have kidney damage until it's too late, unless you're regularly checking, because the kidneys have so much redundancy in them. So you could be down to 15% kidney function before you run into any problems. And by that time, it's too late. By that time, it's really too late to reverse the damage, although you can prevent further damage and you can improve kidney functioning. So the kidney's main job is to filter the blood. A lot of blood flows through the kidneys, which makes the kidneys susceptible to to damage from blood toxicity. Because if there's toxins in the blood, especially sugar, the blood is running through the kidneys, through the vessels in the kidneys. Those vessels can become damaged. And this is what accounts for chronic kidney disease, the most common toxin in the blood being sugar. Now, hypertension can also cause a problem. One of the things high blood pressure does to the vessels is it makes the cells within the blood vessels divide rapidly. Rapid division of blood cells within the vessels, vessel cells within the circulatory system, thickens the vessels. Thickening of the vessels is a protective response to hypertension. Does that make sense? You got a lot of pressure running through the vessels, so the vessels want to become stronger to resist that pressure, and this can lead to a rapid cell division within the kidneys. Rapid cell division within the kidneys can also cause damage, and so between hypertension and between elevated blood sugar or dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar, you have the two major causes of kidney disease. Now, because hypertension is also related to dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar. Dysglycemia is a fancy word that means messed up blood sugar. Messed up, glyce, sugar, emia in the blood, messed up blood sugar. You can basically say that dysglycemia is the primary cause of chronic kidney disease. So far, so good?
Okay.
This is why diabetes and kidney disease go hand in hand. So if you want to deal with kidney disease, you got to deal with blood sugar. And this gets back to our triangle of disease, or if you want to simplify it, the line of disease. Did I talk to you about the line of disease as opposed to the triangle of disease? The triangle of disease are 3 points of bodily breakdown that underlie all chronic health challenges, including kidney disease. That is digestive, intestinal health, blood sugar, dysglycemia, and what I call the adrenal thyroid complex. Now, if you want to simplify that even further, you can simplify it to intestinal health and blood sugar, or dysglycemia. Those are the 2 points that you want to address for all chronic health challenges, including kidney disease. And it's so tragic because what is the one cause of the main cause of intestinal health problems and dysglycemia? Starts with an F.
You got
food.
Okay.
Food. chronic kidney disease, and intestinal problems, which, when I say intestinal problems, I'm mostly talking about SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, leading to leaky gut or intestinal permeability issues. Okay, there's other things that can go wrong too, but for the most part, it's SIBO and leaky gut, toxins getting into the blood then runs through the kidneys, and those toxins damage the kidneys. Now, I said sugar is the main toxin, but there's other things. For example, one chemical that's in the blood that follows leaky gut, which follows SIBO, is histamine. Now, everybody's heard of histamine in terms of antihistamines. You get hay fever, you take an antihistamine. But what most people don't realize is that histamine is made by bacteria in the gut. When you have leaky gut, that histamine can get into the intestine. That can create a condition called a histamine intolerance, which can not only make you more sensitive to pollen. A lot of people who have hay fever and seasonal allergies are really dealing with histamine intolerance following SIBO and a leaky gut. Now, these mechanisms are very fascinating, but I don't want anybody to be confused by all of these mechanisms. Focus on intestinal health. In the interest of simplicity, if you want to know the mechanisms, I'm happy to talk about them. They're fascinating. They're interesting. The body and its biology is a source of endless fascination. There's so many things in there. But if you want to simplify, work on intestinal health and work on blood sugar. As far as blood sugar goes, get on the healthy blood sugar pack from Longevity. Reduce your intake of fast-burning carbohydrates, what they call high glycemic carbohydrates. It doesn't have to be just cake and pie and soda pop. It can also be bread and pasta and cereal and rice. Anything that breaks down into sugar quickly can raise your blood sugar levels. Raising the blood sugar is going to create problem over time. Is going to create problems in the circulatory system and then in the kidneys. So even if you haven't been diagnosed as a diabetic, if you have kidney disease, treat yourself like a diabetic. In fact, if you have any chronic health challenge, no matter what it is, treat yourself like a diabetic. The measurement for the diagnosis of diabetes is 120 milligrams of sugar per deciliter of blood, right? If you're at 119.9999999, they say you're fine. That's how arbitrary the designation, the criteria are for the determination of the diagnosis of diabetes. So you can go to the doctor and the doctor say, oh, your blood sugar is fine, you're normal, but you could be at just under where a diagnosis of diabetes would occur. So just if you have a chronic degenerative disease, treat yourself like a diabetic. Go ketogenic, go low calorie, reduce your intake of fast burning carbs, and use nutrients that help the body process sugar. Like I say, the Longevity Healthy Blood Sugar Pack is a great simple way to introduce blood sugar lowering nutrients into your diet or into your daily protocol. Selenium, niacin, sulfur, vitamin B1, thiamine, which is one of the most underrated of all of the nutrients, incredibly important for the blood sugar system. What else? Something called alpha lipoic acid is also helpful for blood sugar. Zinc, magnesium are two minerals that are helpful for blood sugar control. So work on your blood sugar by reducing your caloric intake, reducing your intake of fast-burning sugars, and using nutritional supplementation that helps your body handle sugar. Not only will you end up preventing or slowing down the progression of kidney disease, but you will also be improving your cardiovascular health, because elevated blood sugar is an important factor when it comes to heart disease. Elevated blood sugar is also an important factor when it comes to dementias and Alzheimer's disease. In fact, Alzheimer's disease is called type 3 diabetes. So you'll be improving mental health if you have if you treat yourself like a diabetic and reduce your intake of fast-burning carbs and use the aforementioned nutritional supplements. Pretty much every single marker of good health will improve. Pretty much every single marker of decelerated aging will improve, and that includes your appearance, because elevated blood sugar can cause wrinkles. Elevated blood sugar can be associated with hyperpigmentation and dark spots. Elevated blood sugar can be associated with skin diseases like acne, and we'll talk about psoriasis here in a moment. So by taking these simple steps to reduce the symptoms of full-blown disease states like chronic kidney disease, will improve overall health. And that is why the triangle of disease, or the line of disease, if you want to simplify, is so important. not only will you be addressing the problems that you're trying to address, but you'll be addressing other issues that you may not even be thinking about, including accelerated aging. You'll be improving longevity as well as all of the health markers. Kidney disease and diabetes go hand in hand. If you're dealing with chronic kidney disease or you know somebody who is, use diabetic strategies, food strategies, as well as supplements. And by the way, exercise is another important strategy for helping lower blood sugar. One really cool tip for lowering blood sugar, especially first thing in the morning when blood sugar tends to be concentrated, or if you fall off the wagon and go and eat a bunch of sweets, and you go to a Christmas party or whatever, and there's a birthday party and there's a bunch of birthday cake, and you fall off the sugar wagon or the sugar abstinence wagon. Drink water. Water will dilute your blood sugar. And if you put a little Beyond Tangy Tangerine in your water, you'll get the nutrients that will help improve blood sugar control in addition to diluting your blood sugar. And this is especially important first thing in the morning when the blood tends to be concentrated and blood sugar tends to be higher.
Thank you, Ben. You brought up things that make me think, and I have a question. Just one of them, this question I think you're going to address when you talk about psoriasis, which is how do you fix the gut?
Yeah.
But then the other question is, you talked about chronic kidney disease, but then you mentioned acute kidney disease. What's the acute part? Anything
that slows down the blood flow to the kidneys, like if you get into an accident, you will cause acute kidney failure. If there's any kind of blockage in the drainage tubes, the ureters, your urine drainage tubes from the kidneys, if they become blocked and wastes can't leave your body, that can be a cause of acute kidney failure. If you have, God forbid, a heart attack, or if something goes wrong with your heart, or if you're on blood pressure medication that lowers your blood pressure too much, that can cause acute kidney disease. Liver failure can do it. Aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen, these so-called NSAID drugs can cause acute kidney failure. Allergic reactions, burns can do it. Liver failure can do it. But for most people, the problem is going to be a chronic kidney disease issue, not an acute kidney damage issue.
Thank you. So what about psoriasis?
Okay, now psoriasis is an autoimmune disease. There's about 80 to 100 different autoimmune diseases. Every month they come up with a new, they find that a standard disease is related to autoimmunity. Recently, I've just been reading that cardiovascular disease has an autoimmune aspect to it. Autoimmunity is when the body attacks its own tissues. Ordinarily, the immune system is supposed to attack the enemy, bacteria or viruses or foreign invaders. For some reason, and I'll tell you why this happens, when you have autoimmune diseases, the body sees its own tissues, whether it's in the pancreas, if you have type 1 diabetes, or the joints, if it's rheumatoid arthritis, or the connective tissue, if it's scleroderma, or the skin cells, if it's psoriasis. The body sees these tissues as foreign. The reason the body sees these tissues as foreign is because they become distorted by toxicity in the blood. And this is the fundamental cause of disease, of chronic disease, toxicity in the blood. When I talk about the triangle of disease, the digestive system, the intestine, and the blood sugar system, what we're really talking about is toxicity in the blood. And then the third point on the triangle of disease is a response to that toxicity in the blood. That's the adrenal thyroid complex. That's why I say, to simplify, we can just call it the line of disease, because toxicity in the blood can only come in from two sources. Number one, injections, right? And we know that vaccines, for example, are associated with autoimmune diseases. And we know that people who are heroin addicts or junkies, or meth addicts or junkies, and they're injecting drugs in through their skin, they're also susceptible to autoimmune diseases, as well as a whole range of chronic degenerative diseases. So injecting through the blood is one way that the blood can become toxic. But for the most part, the people we're dealing with are not in the back alley shooting up crack or heroin or meth. They're normal people, regular average people. And normal, regular, average people will have to endure the impact of blood toxicity, not following injections, but following food intake. This is the main way the blood becomes toxic. Now, it can become toxic from sugar, and sugar is a toxin once it reaches a certain point. You need a small amount of sugar in the blood, obviously, but once it reaches a certain point, the excess sugar in the blood, which is not handled over time as it should because of resistance to the hormone that helps the body process sugar, so-called insulin resistance, and sugar building up in the blood represents a toxin and represents a source and a cause of all kinds of health challenges. But the main way that toxicity gets into the blood is not through sugar, but through what's called a leaky gut. Now, you've probably heard that term, leaky gut syndrome, also known as intestinal permeability syndrome. Once you have increased intestinal permeability, let me digress real quickly. The intestine's a tube. You eat a food, it goes into your stomach, it goes into the intestine, into that tube. From the intestine, the substances that are in the food, the vitamins, the minerals, the fatty acids, the amino acids, the peptides, those are supposed to get into the bloodstream very, very carefully. In other words, you can think of the blood like a country, and you can think of the intestinal wall like customs or immigration. And just like you can't go into a country without going through immigration or going through customs, the nutrients that are in the intestine don't get into the bloodstream until they've been vetted, until they've been interviewed, until they've been checked for their importance or their value to the bloodstream. And that is very, very important because you don't want things just going into the bloodstream willy-nilly. The blood is the sacred space. Nothing is supposed to get into the blood until it's been vetted. This is why injecting things in through the skin is so fraught with danger, because now you've bypassed the body's ability to protect the bloodstream. So once things get into the blood through a leaky gut, you're off to the disease races. Now, there is a fail-safe, which is the liver, and the liver is supposed to protect things from the real bad guys from getting into the blood, but the liver is going to bear the brunt of toxicity as well, and the liver does bear the brunt of toxicity. And that's why 100 million Americans have something called fatty liver disease, because of all the toxins that the liver has to deal with. So eventually things are going to get into the bloodstream that shouldn't get into the bloodstream if you're dealing with a leaky gut. A leaky gut can be caused by food particles or food substances like something called lectins, which gluten is one of. Lectins are plant defense molecules. These are molecules that plants make to punish the intrepid eater or the foolish eater of those plants. And plants make lots of these, gluten just being one of them. Gluten and lectins can result in inflammation at the level of the intestine, leading to leaky gut. Another thing that can cause leaky gut is something called estrogen. And we know that women who are producing lots of estrogen relative to progesterone or are dealing with a condition called estrogen dominance are more at risk for leaky gut. Once you have this leaky gut issue, whether it's due to estrogen or whether it's due to lectins or whether it's due to gluten or whether it's due to fried fats, this is one of the biggest problems associated with fried fats, deep fried fats. They're very inflammatory for the intestine and they can be a source of leaky gut. Once that occurs, toxins from foods can get into the bloodstream. Toxins from bacteria can get into the bloodstream, including the aforementioned histamine, as well as pieces of bacteria. They call them endotoxins. Some people will call them LPSs or lipopolysaccharides. And these LPSs and endotoxins and food particles, gluten, can all get into the bloodstream, at which point they will initiate an immune reaction in the blood. This immune reaction in the blood is made up of blood cells that kind of surround the toxin, surround the gluten, or surround the endotoxins, and they'll float around through the bloodstream until they get filtered out. And the places they get filtered out are the connective tissue. This is one of the main roles of the connective tissue. It acts like a sieve, like a molecular sieve to filter out all these toxins. And from that point, it's a short jump to the various organs of the body, including the thyroid and the pancreas and the kidneys and the the skin, all of the soft tissues of the body and the organs of the body are susceptible to damage from these circulating immune complexes, which they're caused, which have been filtered out of the blood. So toxins get into the blood through a leaky gut. The toxins go into the bloodstream. The blood initiates an immune reaction. These immune complexes eventually make their way to the connective tissue and the organs of the body. When they get to the skin, for example, in our case with psoriasis, they can disrupt the appearance of the keratinocyte, the skin cell, and all of a sudden that skin cell will look foreign to the immune system. If it goes to the thyroid cells will look foreign to the immune system. If it goes to the pancreas cells will look foreign to the immune system. If it goes to the nerve tissue will look foreign to the immune system. All of these foreign, all this foreign appearance, whether it's in the nerves or whether it's in the skin or whether it's in the pancreas, will initiate an immune response to those cells. So it's not a mistake. Medical folks will say it's a mistake. Oh, we have no idea. Why is this mistake happening? It's not a mistake. The immune system is not stupid. It's not making a mistake. It is seeing the distortion in the tissues, whether it's the thyroid or the skin or the pancreas or whatever it is, secondary to the toxicity that's getting into the bloodstream through the intestine. Now, there's also the histamine aspect to things. And while histamine is not a foreign substance, histamine is a stress substance. Histamine represents an emergency. And so when histamine hits the tissues, several things happen. One of the things that happens, you get inflammation. Histamine is pro-inflammatory. Another thing that happens with histamine is you get rapid division of cells. Psoriasis is the hallmark feature of psoriasis is cells dividing very rapidly. Histamine is an accelerant for cells. Histamine keeps you awake. Histamine makes things happen. Histamine is a stimulant. That's why, by the way, when you take an antihistamine, what happens? You fall asleep. Antihistamines are used as sleeping pills. Histamine speeds things up. So between histamine and toxicity that's entering into the bloodstream through a leaky gut, between bacteria, pieces of bacteria, particularly the cell membranes of bacteria entering into the bloodstream, you end up with toxic blood. Same thing that we talked about the kidneys, and the toxic blood eventually leads to distortions at the levels of the cells. That initiates an immune response to the cells. All of this is the mechanism. The mechanism is fascinating. And the reason I bring the mechanism up is because I just don't want to I want people to understand how all of this happens and not just tell you what to do. However, if you just want to know what to do, here's what you do. You work on your intestinal health. All psoriasis patients should be working on intestinal health. So what do? A food diary where you where you notice foods that are causing digestive distress and you eliminate those foods. Now, there are bad foods. We always talk about the bad foods, but it doesn't have to be bad foods. It could be so-called good foods. Avocados can be a problem for some people. Pears can be a problem for some people. Artichokes can be a problem for some people. Okra can be a problem for some people. Pistachios can be a problem for some people. These are so-called good foods, but they can cause problems at the level of the intestine. So what you have to do is a food diary where you write down everything you eat, and then you write down how your the response of your symptoms, whether it's skin symptoms or digestive symptoms or brain fog symptoms or immune symptoms, whatever it is. You link specific foods up to symptoms, and then you start to eliminate foods. When you notice a food causes digestive distress or causes you to break out with psoriasis or eczema or other skin health issues or whatever it is, you eliminate those foods. Then you start to use digestive support. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, then you use digestive support. So in addition to eliminating problem foods, you're going to start to use probiotics, good bacteria. You want to make sure you're using fiber. You want to make sure that you're using essential fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory. They also have a very important role to play in skin health, which I'll talk about here in a second. Collagen peptides can be important, and so can the glucogel caps. In fact, using the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack can help strengthen the intestinal lining. Even though the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack is designed for bones and joints and connective tissue, it can also help strengthen the intestinal lining. So staying away from problem foods, using probiotics, using prebiotics, using supplements that help build the intestinal wall, intestinal lining, those can all be helpful for intestinal and digestive health. Another problem, we talked about small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO, leading to a leaky gut. Well, deficiencies in stomach acid, a condition called hypochlorhydria or achlorhydria, low stomach acid, can lead to leaky gut. So using stomach acid supplements like betaine HCl, as well as the ultimate enzymes. The ultimate enzymes have digestive enzymes, and they also have betaine HCl for acidifying the contents of the stomach. I also suggest apple cider vinegar with your meals and when you take your digestive enzymes to further acidify the contents of the stomach. Acid kills bacteria. We have a great product called I-26, which you probably heard of. I-26 is specifically designed to kill excess bacteria in the small intestine. Bile, or bile salts, or bile acids, some people will say, also have an antibacterial effect at the level of the intestine. So the ultimate enzymes also have bile salts in them. If you have a gallbladder removed, or you have gallbladder problems, or if you have a liver problem, because bile is made in the liver, you may be more susceptible to SIBO. So working on liver health, working on gallbladder health by using things like lecithin granules or phospholipids, which are found in various foods. Eggs, for example, are a good source of phospholipids. The amino acid taurine can help you build bile. These are all strategies for helping improve a SIBO, thereby helping improve leaky gut, thereby helping improve blood toxicity, thereby helping improve autoimmune diseases. We're talking about psoriasis here, but this is for all autoimmune diseases. As far as psoriasis goes, there's things you could do for the skin, specifically for the skin cells. If you go to a dermatologist for psoriasis, they'll put you under a sun lamp. Why? Because vitamin D has anti-psoriatic properties. So if you don't want to go to a dermatologist, go out in the sun and make more vitamin D, and you'll help heal your psoriatic plaques. Also, if you go to a dermatologist, they'll actually write a prescription for vitamin D cream for your skin. Well, you could put vitamin D right on your skin. Real vitamin D. Vitamin D cream, a product called Dovanex, is fake vitamin D, but you can put straight vitamin D right on your psoriatic lesions. So you get a vitamin A and D capsule and stick a pin in there and put the vitamin A and D on your skin. By the way, vitamin A is also good for your psoriatic plaques. Vitamin A in the form of retin A or in the form of retinol, or if you want to just stick a pin in a vitamin A and D capsule, you can do that as well. Omega fats are incredibly important for skin health, both omega-6 and omega-3, and that would be your ultimate EFA. You can also throw in a little extra fish liver oil, or cod liver oil. It's better to use cod than fish. Fish is kind of a generic term, and you never know what kind of fish you're getting, and some fish, not all fish are healthy because our oceans are so toxic. Cod, especially North Atlantic cod, tends to be the cleanest fish. So liver from cod liver oil from cod that is fished from the Northern Atlantic to assure purity, you can put that either right on your psoriatic plaques, or you can ingest it topically. Likewise, the minerals selenium and the minerals zinc have anti-psoriatic properties. Use your Zinc FX from Youngevity, as well as your Ultimate Selenium from Youngevity. So that's for treating psoriasis. Work on digestive health, support clean the blood, make sure that you're using all the appropriate topical strategies, and link your psoriatic plaques to specific foods via food diary and then the elimination diet.
That's a mouthful for 5 minutes, Ben. So just an incredible wealth of information as usual. I do have questions, but well, I guess I got tons of questions based on what you said, but there's not enough time.
We can do this again, and we'll answer.
Yeah, this is a lot to digest.
All right. Well, listen, this is live. I noticed there's a couple people who made comments here, but as this gets posted, there'll be questions, and we can answer the questions that people post. You guys listening live, if you have questions, just stick them in the comments. We'll read the comments, and we'll answer all your questions on our next restream.
That's right. So thanks. we got folks on X, and we got folks on YouTube, and they all love you, Ben. So it's just you're just infectious. Everybody loves you around the world.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, AJ. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see everybody, or not see everybody, but I assume you're out there. And then we'll talk on our next Restream episode.